Welcome into ATL Day Ones with Jarvis and Tenitra. Coming up on today's show, the Hawks got punched in the mouth and they didn't know what to do.
And now that he is officially QB1, we know the rookie is ready, but is his O-line ready?
And last but not least, and for the culture, RG3, bro, you just be trying too hard.
This is ATL Day Ones, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta. And it starts now.
I just want to start off by saying thank you for making ATL Day Ones your first listen of the day. Remember, we're free and available wherever you download your podcast. Wherever you download your podcast, make sure you leave us a 5-star review. Really appreciate that from you in advance. Today's episode of ATL Day Ones is brought to you by BetOnline. The Hawks got their behinds kicked. We talked about this game being a game that the Hawks can maybe bounce back. But what we did mention that, the Orlando Magic were coming in this bad boy on a 3-game winning streak. So I think that Orlando was like, yeah, we don't care what y'all trying to do. We don't care what kind of track y'all trying to get back on. But it just seems like the Hawks weren't ready for what the Orlando Magic were bringing last night.
Yeah, they went in very lackadaisical, almost as if they assumed, hey, because we blew you out twice. And although the first game has just a 10-point differential, it was a blowout. It was just trash points at the end. So two blowouts from the Hawks against the Magic this season. I just think they went in and said, hey, we got this. And the Magic said, I beg to differ. We are coming together as a unit and we have something to say. Although we are 8-20, we're still an up and coming team because, to your point, they managed to put together a string of wins that, let's face it, we've only seen one time from the Hawks this season.
Right. And then when you think about giving up 50 points in the first quarter, and 76 points in the first half, I'm sitting here like, am I watching the All-Star game full of guys that, the top 5 picks? It seemed like the Orlando Magic got like 70 top five picks on their roster. But, you talk about, it just seems so similar to last year, right? Because we know with DeJounte Murray being out of the lineup, and that's a big deal. I think that's a big factor, right? And this team looked like they did last year. No defense, no closing out on 3-pointers. Like a Markelle Fultz was getting to the paint as if it was nobody there. Even with Clint Capela in the starting lineup, it's just this team. Like you said, this team seemed disjointed. And I think that Nate McMillan kind of said it best. Like, this team, we got punched in the mouth and didn't know how to respond.
Yeah, and it's interesting because when I think about it, and I just kind of did a comparison contrast on the lineups, and I mean, it's virtually similar minus DJ, but I would have to say this. Yes, not having DJ there is a big, big deal, but you didn't go into the game thinking you had him. So at some point, you've got to figure out as a unit who's going to account for his, say, 20 points and 8 boards, couple of steals, and his assists. Like, who's going to account for all of his two-way play? And it doesn't necessarily have to be the case, Jarvis, that one player does it. In fact,
one for one type situation.
Committee, right? Especially if you're doing it by committee with folks that are coming off the bench. But I'm not going to sit here and allow you, not you personally, but sit here and allow for the excuse of, well, they didn't have DJ. Well, you know what? You had players who were playing at the 4 and who were playing at the 5. So why in the world were the Magic players able to just, like you said, get in that paint? But also, you allowed them to hit 6 straight points out of the gate. So, I mean, you let them set the stage. And I believe 3 of those were 3-pointers. So, I mean, you set that stage early. And even when you battled back to get the lead down to 8, it seemed like even at that point, the Hawks thought, oh, well, okay, we got this. We got it back down to 8. We're good here. No, you're not. Because then Terrence Ross comes back down and hits the 3, and they go right back off on you. Right back like your little 22-8 run or whatever it was, like it never happened.
And I think Terrence Ross has a serious disdain for the Atlanta Hawks because he used to do the same thing when he played for the Raptors. That dude was lights out against the Hawks for some odd reason. And I think that and that's the thing that you have to be concerned about, right? Like, and because Nate McMillan was asked in the post-game press conference about how do you get your guys ready? And
Right.
his response was great. I thought it was just quintessential Nate McMillan. He said,
Mm-hmm.
you have to be ready, meaning
Yeah.
the players. The players
Yeah.
have to get themselves ready. They have to be ready. He's going to do everything he
Right.
possibly can from a game plan standpoint and get those guys prepared. But if you don't come out there with your mentals in the right
Yeah.
situation, which it wasn't, obviously,
Right.
that's on you. That's on the players. And I think that, and I hate that this conversation is going to lead to what I'm about to get ready to
Yeah.
bring up as far
Yeah.
as Nate McMillan being let go, or is he going to be the guy to fall on the sword? And I'm tired of coaches falling on the sword for this team because it's
Yeah.
ridiculous.
Right. And before we even get to the coaching piece, I also want to add this. I feel like the Hawks are playing a very dangerous game
Yeah,
of playing down to their competition. But right now, you're the competition that everybody is playing kind of
right,
down to, because you're
right.
playing as if you're an elite team. So you're starting to become that competition where the elite teams are coming in like, oh, okay, I mean, whatever. So
Yeah.
you're slowly but surely talking yourself, playing yourself out of the conversation of where these elite teams are. And we got to remember, yes, it is very early in the season, but when you are playing divisional and conference games, you have to take them seriously with an Eastern Conference that is so top heavy. And all you're trying to do is get in that top four to at least get an opening round series at home. And you darn sure don't want the play in tournament. But if you don't take these games seriously and understand that any team can beat you on any given night, now I believe that absolutely you don't see who you really are right now. You're not the elite competition. You're the ones that people are looking down on and saying, okay, we might play down to them tonight, which brings us to your point of, but you have to play the game because Nate McMillan, and you tell me this, Jarvis, I
Mhm.
feel like with football, you can have a coach to motivate the players and really get them going, riling them up with those speeches. Basketball is not that way.
No,
Players really, they bring each other out. They bring each other up. They force each other to bring their A game. So I feel like it's unfair for Nate McMillan to take the L for this, but it's starting to feel like a decision is going to have to be made that will have major implications to trying to get this team on the right ship. And like you said, it's the NBA. Players don't get fired, coaches do.
absolutely. At the end of the day, and I think that that's where I don't want to see because I like
Yeah.
Nate. I think Nate brings something to the table. He brings some credibility.
Yeah.
Instead of going outside of the organization during the middle of the season, like what does that look like?
Yeah.
Or do you make somebody the interim coach, and what does that look like? I don't
Right.
know. I just don't like the look of that. I don't
Yeah.
like. I don't think the end result will be what you want if you were to go that route at
Yeah.
this juncture. So I think that you get the guy who I feel is the leader of this team, and that's DeJounte Murray. Yeah, I'm Trae Young. You're not the guy. You're not the leader right now. I just don't see
Mhm.
and he hasn't proven that to me yet. So I think once DeJounte gets back into the fold, hopefully this team can get going. But like you said, you got some games coming up. You got the Orlando Magic again. You got the Charlotte Hornets tomorrow.
Yep.
So you have some games to get right. And I'm not saying they're games they're supposed to win because what I
Right.
saw last night, I'm not gonna. I can't. There's no way
Yeah.
in the
I don't
world
know if I can say it again.
seeing what
Yeah.
I saw last night. I can say they're supposed to beat the Charlotte Hornets. Nah, like this is a game that you can win if you come correct. And if the Hawks don't come correct, they could take another L against another bad team. So, and then eventually the conversation is gonna start changing, like you mentioned. This is a bad team because they've fallen under 500 for the first time in this season. This is what we're looking at, and this is what it is. And I think right now it is what it is when it comes to Atlanta Hawks. Now, T, people trying to win some money, right? And the Falcons play the New Orleans Saints on Sunday in
Yes.
New Orleans. So if
In
you're trying to figure out how to get some money, go to betonline.net because it is the fastest and easiest way to check in on all your betting needs. Find all your favorite sports and events at the number one online source for odds, lines, and games. And when you think about Desmond Ridder starting, what does that mean? Are the New Orleans Saints prepared? Can they prepare for the guy? What kind of film do they have on? Are they going to have to go back to the preseason to see what's going on? So those may be factors as to how many points are scored in this game. So
Mhm.
I need you to Go to BetOnline. It continues to be the top online source for all your sports wagering information, for live in-game betting, scores, and podcasts. They got you covered. You guys come to us each and every day for all your ATL sports needs. For all your sports wagering information, go to betonline.net. And what I want you to do, one last request, go to BetOnline today or use your mobile device. You know you got that thing in your hand right now as we're speaking. You probably listening to us through your mobile device or watching us on your phone through your mobile device. Learn more about the action happening today because BetOnline is where the game starts.
So we're getting closer and closer to the first start for Desmond Ridder at QB1 for the Falcons, right? Got the official word yesterday, the official that Marcus Mariota is done for the season, and we suspect done with his Falcons career. So Desmond Ridder, time to
Chronic
shine.
knee injury.
Yes, time to shine, Desmond Ridder. So
Yes.
I think with him, we have someone whom we can be confident in. So many of the players, even Drake London, got a chance to hear from him yesterday. He talked a lot about the preparation that they have done off season and all throughout the year.
Yes.
We heard great things from Tyler Algier just before that. So you kind of feel like, okay, rookie, we think you're ready. The question is, especially with you getting Elijah Wilkinson back, he's been taking reps with the first team. Is this offensive line ready to give Desmond Ridder what he needs so that he can be set up for success on Sunday?
I absolutely wholeheartedly believe it. And I think that you bringing up Elijah Wilkinson is a great point because you got some stability there, right? Because I think he brought stability to that position because that was the biggest question. Who's going to be the starter at left guard? Is Jalen Mayfield going to be back there? Is that because we all know that was insane? That's the definition of insanity, trying to do the same thing, trying to get a different result. And we know that Jalen Mayfield wasn't the answer. And Elijah Wilkinson, we got a chance to talk to him leading up to the season, and what I gather from him, and I know you probably came away feeling the same way as well. I was impressed. I was impressed by his knowledge of the game and what he wants to do, and what he knew exactly what he came in here for, and that was to be a guy that you can count on. And I think that I was pretty pleased when in the first few games when he was in there at left guard. So I think that is a big key, and putting some stability right there. And then you got Drew Dahlman, who's still in there. Like, ain't nothing you can do about that. That's what it is. But I think that having somebody that you don't have, two guys you have to worry about right there in the middle of the offensive line, I think that's going to be something that's going to really help Desmond Ridder. And the run game. The run game is going to be very key for him. Not necessarily as far as rushing yards and not getting all the attempts and all that stuff. Obviously, you want to be able to average between 4 and 5 yards a pop. That's going to help a lot. But when it comes time to take a shot down the field, because Arthur Smith talked about pushing the offense. That's one of the reasons why he wanted Desmond Ridder in the game. Yeah. Remember the word. I think Arthur Smith was being very prophetic right there. Pushing the ball down the field. We know that's what Marcus Mariota, he struggled with at a lot of times. He's one of the worst quarterbacks in the league as far as completion percentage, ball thrown down the field 20+ yards. That's a fact. And we've seen that, and I've seen it with my own eyes, and I looked at the numbers. So I think that Desmond Ridder can be in that one aspect of the game. He's going to help push this offense where Arthur Smith wants it to be.
Yeah, and hopefully he will. And it'll be interesting to see what happens with Caleb McGarry for round 2. Can he keep Cam Jordan away?
Yes.
Because Cam Jordan's been the problem. Let's
wait. Hold on, T. You got to be respectful of Cam now. Like, I don't like the New Orleans Saints, but you got to be respectful. His name is Daddy when it comes to Caleb. Caleb McGarry has referred to Cam Jordan as Daddy because, hey, you got to block Daddy today. You got to block Daddy on Sunday. That's at the end of the day. You got to block Daddy. Block Daddy on Sunday, Caleb.
So, I mean, seriously, like, he's had his number for years. I mean, literally,
since he stepped on the field.
Right. I mean, poor Matt Ryan. I felt like Matt Ryan was just triggered. Like, every time he saw Cam Jordan or just heard that name, triggered.
Cam Jordan.
It's going to happen again. It's happening again. And granted, we all chuckled and in amazement, like the first couple of quarters of game 1 in week 1, right? We're like, right. Cam Jordan sure is quiet today. Him quiet. Wait a minute. by that midway through that third quarter, going into that fourth quarter, the giant was awakened. So to me,
He's
that's probably
alive.
the biggest, right? The sleeping giant was awakened. So that's the biggest challenge I feel like the offensive line has to take into account.
Right.
If you can keep Cam Jordan just honest, just give Ridder an opportunity, I think you'll be fine. Because if you give him that, I feel like Drake London can do whatever he needs to do against the likes of Marcus Lattimore. Like, I don't think that he's going to be a problem, because I actually watched a couple of routes that were run early in that game in week 1. And honestly, if Marcus Mariota would have put the ball where it was supposed to be, Drake London would have been fine, because he was blowing away really the entire secondary for the Saints.
Yes.
So I think that's one of those things where, again, if he can just get that 1 or 2 seconds just to find his guy or read through his progressions, I think he'll just be fine. But that's up to the O-line to give him that. And also, like you said, make those holes that CP and Algier can run through so that all the pressure is not on Ridder.
And T, I think you bring up a great point, because in watching, I got a chance to check out Desmond Ridder's press conference earlier this morning, and like when he was asked about Drake London,
Mm-hmm.
like it kind of reminded me of Nate McMillan when the first time
Mm-hmm.
he was asked about DeJounte Murray, he just
DeJounte Murray,
started
yeah.
smile. Yeah, he was just like, yeah, I got my mother blanket. Oh, I'm ready to go. And I feel like Desmond Ridder feels like he has that in Drake London, because
Indeed.
the smirks on his face, the smile,
Mhm.
he just lit up when he was asked about Drake. He like, that's my guy. You know what I'm saying? And I was just
My
like,
guy.
yeah, don't be surprised if Drake get a couple extra targets. Not saying that he ain't gonna rock with everybody else. Alamade's
Mhm.
kids is definitely formidable, but I think that, you know, and Cardell Hodge as well. But I think that chemistry that those guys solidified in rookie minicamp is gonna pay out. I think we're gonna see the benefits of that
Yeah.
against New Orleans on Sunday for sure.
Yeah. Now, if you want to hear more about this game, because it's interesting, it's compelling, because there's still a wide open race in the NFC South. I can imagine they're talking about it on Locked On Sports today, because they want to give reaction to the biggest stories. They want to follow the biggest stories as well. And this is one of them. This is a storyline probably unlike anything else in the NFL, at least. And if you look at the NBA game night a couple nights ago, the Lakers looked good, but not good enough to beat the Celtics. So I'm sure they'll give you reaction on games like that. Or we definitely know Steph Curry had a shoulder injury, and how is that going to impact the Warriors and the race in the Western Conference the rest of the year? Check them out. They'll give you their reaction on the biggest stories. But also, you guys know we have For the Culture right here on ATL Day Ones. They've got take of the day, and it's about the same. They'll give you all the tea in their take. So again, that's Locked On Sports Today. You can check them out as soon as you finish checking out ATL Day Ones on the Odyssey app, at YouTube, or wherever you get your podcast. Now, Jarvis, speaking of this race in the NFC South, yes, there are different percentages. Falcons obviously have the smallest percentage to win, followed by the Saints, and then the Bucks and the Panthers are actually trending up. So we're in that final stretch where everybody has 4 games amongst those 4 teams. You're looking at the schedule, you're looking at the rosters, you're looking at the teams that control their own destiny, i.e. the Panthers and the Bucks, and you really think to yourself, who's the favorite in the division right now? Let me just kind of read this off to you. So the Bucks, you know, of course, they are 6-7, and they've got the Bengals at home. They've got the Cardinals. They travel to Arizona, but we know they're down Kyler Murray, so that could make a difference. They're visiting the Panthers, the ones that are on trending up the best, and of course, they end the season right here in Atlanta. Now your Panthers, 5-8, but that 5-8 is sneaky good for what Steve Wilks has been able to do the past several weeks, right? They host the Steelers. They host the Lions. Lions are trending up. Got to watch that one. They go to the Bucks, and then they go to the Saints. And then, of course, the Saints, it's the Falcons here. I'm sorry, Falcons in New Orleans. They go to the Browns. They go to the Eagles. So that's going to be tough. And then, of course, they come back at the end of the season. And I think they play maybe the Bucks Bucks. That's their last game. So Jarvis, now that I've laid it out from a schedule perspective, we know everybody's roster challenges, and we know who's in control of their own destiny. Who's really the favorite in this division right now?
To be honest with you, if you ask from a momentum standpoint, I think I would go to Carolina Panthers,
That's
because,
who I
like you
picked
said,
too.
yeah, because Steve Wilks has done a hell of a job, and I think I think he may have earned that head coaching gig to get that interim tag removed, and I would love that because, and I'm gonna just be blunt here. Well, hey, a brother getting a second chance, I'm all for that,
Yeah.
no doubt about it. Because I think he got ramrodded, out there in Arizona, and I think
Absolutely.
that hey, y'all did Steve Wilkes that way, y'all need to do Cliff Kingsbury the same way because that dude cannot. He's not a good head coach. I don't
Yeah.
give a crap
Especially
what you
not at
say
this
about
level.
it. Yeah. And he went on that one at the college level either. I ain't gonna give him that either. I'll let you have that. You can do that, but I ain't giving him that either. He was an average head coach in college, and he's less than average in the NFL. So yeah. Anyway, but yeah, I think the Panthers, the way they're running the football, I think this time of year is a time of year where you start to see that balance start to pay off, right? And I think that Carolina is coming around. Sam Darnold's been inserted into the lineup. Hey, he doesn't have to carry that offense. He could just turn around and hand that bad boy off to Chuba Hubbard. And they got guys they picked up off the practice squad out there just balling. So I think that Carolina has a really good chance to win his division. I don't think Tom Brady, he's lost it. He doesn't have it. I don't think, and not being able to or refusing to run the football. They can't because they're down in games so much. So the defense is reeling. I just think the way, and then the Falcons, and like as much as I hate to admit this, like they changing quarterbacks. We don't know what we're going to get from Ridder. I think he can be able to do some good things, but is he going to be able to carry this team to win 4 straight games and still be crossing your eyes and saying Hail Mary's trying to win a division? Because that's the only way they're getting in. Let me go ahead and say that. So yeah, I think the Panthers are that squad, and I think that the Falcons are going to be hard pressed to win this division, and we know that that's the only way they're going to get in.
Exactly, because when we talk about it, I also think advantage Panthers because of their schedule, because the Bucks could easily go 1-3. Go 1-3 in this last stretch, and we know that would completely take them out, right? And you look at the Saints, and they're just so topsy-turvy. I mean, you really don't know what to kind of make of them on both sides of the ball. So I don't really give them much of a chance either. But with the Falcons, not easy. You're talking Saints, and it's still going to be hostile in New Orleans. So you just don't know how that's going. Plus, coupled with the fact that it is going to be Desmond Ridder getting his sea legs wet next week. And then you got the Ravens that you got to travel to Baltimore to take on. Cardinals, that might be a doable game for you.
Yeah, that's
and
winnable.
yeah, you could win the Cardinals, and maybe you could pull off the Bucks because they're trending down. But I don't think going 2-2 in the last 4 games is going to get it for you.
No,
I really don't think so. But the saga of the NFC South probably stresses you out. I can understand Falcons fans. It probably stresses you out, but there's an easy remedy to that. All you have to do is get a Built Bar. If you get a Built Bar and go to built.com and check that out, it'll soothe all your woes and all your worries. So it is 100% real chocolate. We know you love that.
Not so believable.
It's 160 grams of fat, which is awesome if you are trying to keep those pounds off, especially trying to balance it out with all of this holiday food, and 15 grams of protein, which is really cool. So again, check out Built Bars. The puffs are awesome. Check out the puffs. And that is at built.com. You can use the Locked On 15 code, and that will get you 15% off your first order. And again, it is, I'm looking at the clock, looking at the calendar, December 15th. You have 10 days to get all your Christmas gifts. Why don't you get some Built Bar, all the Built Bar stuff you can get, all the Built Bar material and merchandise, and go ahead and make them stocking stuffers, because that's a good look for you. And I'm sure your family members will approve.
Absolutely. Locked On Sports Atlanta family. I have to change my tone because I'm being real serious right here. If you want to get in contact with the program, that's ATL Day Ones. That's this show. Email us at atlday1s@gmail.com. atlday1s@gmail.com. That is how you get in contact with the show. We're trying to work on something here. So go ahead and email us. Just say anything. Just say hi. You can just put hi in the comment section, right? And we'll respond. I promise you. It might not be Tenitra, but I'll make sure I respond because she's a busy woman. She's a Jamaican. She got like 80 jobs. So yeah, but this is for the culture. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and the culture. Some of y'all think I'm joking. I'm dead serious. She has a lot of jobs. It is the intersection between sports, entertainment, and culture. Sometimes whatever the hell we want to talk about, because that's just how we get down on this show. Today is no different. Talked about RG3 trying a little bit too hard. I think this is the perfect example, T, because he dropped a word. I'm not gonna repeat it. That starts with J and ends with O, and it was a term that was used to describe black folks back in the day. And we're not gonna get into what they thought about folks back in the day who said those type of things, but but he did come out and apologize though, and say that that's not what he meant to say. And I don't know if I necessarily believe that, but I think RG3 really don't have a good idea who he is, and I think that by throwing these metaphors and these jokes in his analysis, I don't think it's authentic. I think if that's the way, if I can put it into words, I don't think it's authentic. I don't think that's who you really are, and I think you need to find out who that is as you grow as a broadcaster.
Yeah, and there are certain spaces and places where I'm sure RG3 will fit fine. I really don't think HBCU football is the answer because, again, you have to have a certain level of comfortability and identity with the culture, and that is football culture, Black college football culture, HBCUs, and all of the celebration of being a Black person in that space. I don't know where there's a qualification, if I can use that word, from RG3 that puts him in the booth to have that conversation. When you're talking about, for example, what Jay does or what Tiffany Green does, like they're HBCU grads.
They lived it.
And so it's a passion point for them, right? And I'm not saying that it's going to be that way for everything because, you could make the argument that those of us who haven't played sports, like how can you call a game? So there are definitely things that you can do that help you to get acclimated to your new job.
Yeah.
But I haven't seen anything like, I don't see him posting about traveling to an HBCU and kind of finding out what the culture is and understanding for us a football game is never just a football game. Like you telling us X's and O's without some serious anecdotes related to the HBCU experience, like you said, it just comes across as just not authentic. And I think sometimes society has to be careful not to make Black people a monolith because just because you're Black, just because you're Black doesn't mean that you have the Black college experience. No pun intended from the girl Keisha Kelly.
Yeah, no doubt. Yes, because Keisha, our girl Keisha, she's 1,000% HBCU, and I think that she's more than willing to call people out if they're not on brand and what needs to be said and what needs to be put out there. So I think that hey, RG3 man, stop trying too hard.
Yeah,
like, just be who you
call
are.
the game.
Yeah, just call the game. Call the game straight, because you're gonna get yourself in trouble dropping words like you did. And I don't care if you apologize. You said it. You meant it. It made sense because I understand what the use of the word is, and I understand what if you're trying to call people a certain thing. We get it. We get it. So some don't get it, and they don't need to get it, and we don't need to be bringing that to light in that particular situation. So yes, have several seats, sir. Thank you.
There's a time and a place for that kind of commentary, and that was not it. But listen, we're going to have some exciting things going on tomorrow. We are going to be down at the Celebration Bowl. So you guys, if you're down there, please come and say hello to us. We'll be on Radio Row tomorrow for a little bit, and then we're going to move over to the Bins and kind of join the press conferences and check out some of the practices for North Carolina Central as well as for Jackson State. So again, if you are down there getting all that Celebration Bowl experience tomorrow, if you see Jarvis, if you see me, please stop by and say what's up. We're going to talk a little Celebration Bowl. We hope to have some special guests for you guys. And also, maybe we'll talk about how the Hawks can try their best to turn this thing around. And we'll, of course, give you guys a little Falcons Friday ahead of Sunday's game.
Y'all make sure y'all come back now, you hear?